Hello everyone and welcome to another How Good Is. Today we're going to talk about how good is, well, this right here. Already have it on screen. We have Haruka who's getting a Uncap and she has some two giant new tools in her arsenal that she has to actually become a pretty good character. She's actually pretty good now. However, we need to go into what there actually is about it. So if you look at her page right here, I have made a video about her before. I've made a How Good Is where I talked about her a little bit, and if you remember back to what I said last time, it's that basically she has this sort of niche where her Magia makes her kind of tanky for a little bit and she provokes onto herself, so she's kind of trying to be a support of someone who looks like a support, at least type-wise from the front. Like, look at her discs as well. Like, she looks like a support from the onset, but then you look at her Magia and it actually makes her a little bit tanky. So hey, she can maybe tank for a team. If you play her in a Magia team, maybe she can tank for that Magia team. However, she wasn't that great at that. Her Magia just didn't do quite enough to actually enable that sort of playstyle well enough for her to actually get a spot on a stall team. So right now, for example, if you play a Magia stall team, you would have something like maybe a Madoka and a Kako, maybe you have a Manaka for some damage in there and for some additional heal, and maybe an Oriko in there for some more additional damage. Maybe something around those 4 units is what you would usually have. Of course, Madoka, if you don't have her, you just use some other free-to-play character. But at least those 3 characters I just mentioned, like Kako, Manaka, and Oriko, like those are usually some characters that you often see on Magia stall teams. And whenever you go to the Reddit and you look at some people saying like, hey, I'll beat 100 Evils as free-to-play, usually they'll have some of these characters, at least Kako on that team. Never fails. So let's see if Haruka has what it takes to take a spot on that sort of team. Yes, but we'll see why. So just to go over her stuff very quickly while talking about the differences to 5-star. She has 2 Exalis, 2 Blasters. 2 Exalists are rather important because it's a support type, meaning that, well, first off, her stats are pretty not good at all. Even with 5-star and Spirit Enhancement, her stats really aren't that good at all. And also one thing to note, by the way, is that she got a 5-star Uncap. She did not get Spirit Enhancement because she already had Spirit Enhancement before, okay? That's not new. But her stats, of course, at 5-star are indeed new. And on top of that, the stats that she would have with 5-star and Spirit Enhancement, both combined. So yeah, the stats aren't really that great, but a little bit more focused on the defensive side. Still, plenty of attacker-type characters have similar defense to this, so yeah, not that great. But then again, she's a low rarity character that got uncapped to high rarity, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, on top of that, she's a support type, so it makes sense that her stats really aren't that amazing. Now, if we look at her personal, it gives damage cut and defense up, critical health, and defense up. On top of that, I think last time I compared this to the game memo, which is what I call the 4-star Kokoro Memoria, because it's the Memoria with Kokoro talking about protecting who she loves. I bring this up every single time, but yeah, because Kokoro is just so goddamn gay. But yeah, so this is very much like this. It gives 10% damage cut, 30% defense up, critical health, and 22.5% defense up. Last time I said this personal was pretty alright if you play her as a tank, which you should, but because of some other factors, it wasn't that amazing because she has some weaknesses. But we'll go over that in a bit, because I have some stuff to say about that. For now, just keep in mind she has a really defensive passive personal that maybe you could use on her if she is able to excel as a tank. Now if you look at her connect, it gives attack up, it gives chance to charm on attack. Now I was kind of hoping this would get an additional effect or anything special. At 5-star, it didn't. It's still just attack up and charm on attack up. I know also a lot of people in my YouTube comments, whenever I say, for example, oh, this character who's still currently capped to 4-star has a really bad connect and a really bad Magia. I know I bring this up myself sometimes where I say, hey, maybe if they get uncapped, they might get more effects, they might get some more cool stuff, which some characters do, but, and this is also brought up in YouTube comments sometimes, like, hey, don't be so hard on this character, they're not uncapped yet, maybe when they're uncapped, they're gonna get some cool stuff. And I say, yeah, possible, it's possible, but not a given, because if you look at her, she didn't gain shit on her uncap. She got absolutely nothing on her connect. Her connect beforehand was just this one-trick pony of like charming maybe sometimes, and apart from that, didn't really do anything. I mean, 40% attack up, sure, but I was kind of hoping for anything else in here. Maybe something defensive, because she's a rather defensive character, so having anything defensive, even was just like, I don't know, 40% defense up. It's a pretty bad effect by itself, but it's at least something, and it would play into her playstyle. but we didn't get anything like that, which kind of sucks. But still, it still has some decent defensive aspect to it, because of course if you can charm the entire enemy team, that's a free turn, or if the enemy has like one big damage deal, you can charm that. Awesome. I'm not going to go to a Magia just yet. I'm going to wait for that later. I'm going to go to Spirit House very quickly. We talked about this last time as well, but we have more defensive stuff in here. We have counter, we have damage cut, we have regen, chance to provoke. These are all effects that you would see on a defense character. This is a support character, which actually is actually very important for what we're going to see later as well. Oh, everything is going to come together later. But yeah, she also has skill quicken because she's actually a support type. She gets Excel and Beacon up, which is actually important as well. And her active isn't that amazing on the charm chance. It's 52%. 52, what a weird number. Let's just say 50% chance. Once again, against all enemies, it's not that great. If it's just one enemy, it's 50-50. Maybe a little bit less than 50 if they have resistances, if they get charmed or not. And if it's multiple enemies, the chance that every enemy is going to get charmed is rather low, and even more so if the enemy has just one strong enemy and like maybe multiple smaller enemies, the chance that just that one strong enemy gets charmed is just about 50-50, so not good chances to actually have this work out really well. So that part isn't that great, but the provoke is pretty nice. A 1-turn provoke, okay? We're gonna do some maths here. We have 1 turn of provoke, okay? With a 15% chance to provoke on any turn. Keep this in mind. Keep also in mind the 10% damage cut. And now I'm going to move down to the Magia. Okay, so if we look at the Magia, let's just look at the 4-star Magia. It did some damage. It get attack down to the target, so it was a single target Magia with 25%, or with scaling it, Magia level 5, 35% attack down to the target for 3 turns, which is fine, but it's against a singular enemy, and 35% attack down. If it's a really big enemy, that's still going to be enough for that enemy to deal a bunch of damage to you and maybe kill someone of your guys. That sucks. But it also gives yourself 40% damage cut, which is alright, and chance to provoke for 1 turn. So for 1 turn, you are looking pretty nice, because the enemy is going to have an attack down, you're going to have damage cut. The damage cut stacks with this one right here additively, so you would have 10% plus 40%, which is 50% damage cut on top of the 35% damage cut on the attack down. 35% attack down on the enemy as well, so you're looking pretty nice. But it all only lasted for 1 turn, and guess what, if you're fighting against a really big enemy that hits really hard, once you are low, you're looking pretty bad. Sure, you have regenerate HP, but your HP bullet 4-star was pretty bad, and your defense was even worse. So even though in theory you kind of had the tools to be tanky, in practice, low HP, low defense, only lasting for 1 turn, and only against a single enemy with the attack down, all of that sort of came together to make her only sort of niche against some easier quests. And against easier quests, yeah, what does it matter if someone is really good against easy quests? We're looking for guys who are good at like the really tough quests, right? However, now we've got a 5-star. And on 5-star, we've got decent defense. Not great, but at least we've got decent defense. We've got at least got somewhat decent HP. And now, here, look at that. The attack down went up by 10%. We now get 45% attack down, which is noticeably more, because it actually scales pretty fucking hard. Then on the damage cut, another 10% more. We now had 50% damage cut together with SE. That's 60% damage cut in total. That's looking pretty nice. And then on the provoke, also just for 1 turn. That sucks. But regenerate HP. Oh, we now regenerate HP. A total of, how much is that? Well, it's not 15%, guys. Do the maths. We got the scaling on top of this as well. So we got 9% on every 3 turns. That's 27% in total over 3 turns. So not only are we now more defensive in every single way, like we're taking less damage ourselves with the damage cut, but also the one enemy that we Magia deals less damage as well. We are still provoking, and we're now actually also regenerating HP on top of everything. So hey, we're looking actually really tanky now. That's actually really good. We got with the passive provoke chance that actually matters now, because if you just randomly provoke with 6,000 defense, you're gonna die. But if you now randomly provoke with a lot more, with like 1,500 more defense, with 4,000 more HP, and if your Magia is running 10% more damage cut, hey, now we're actually not suddenly dying if we randomly provoke someone. Hey, that's actually pretty good, right? And not just that, if we've taken a bunch of damage, we're now regenerating up. Hey, look at that. That's actually pretty nice. Now, if we just look at everything like this, if we ignore Doppel, I'm like putting my hand on top of the Doppel right now. You can't see it right here. If you just ignore the Doppel and look at everything right here, we can see that, oh, what I just said last time still pretty much applies. Like, hey, she can you a pretty nice, like on a Magia team, she can be some sort of like supportive tank, like someone who isn't super duper tanky, but can like jump in and be like, hey, I can tank for a turn, and the next turn something else is going to have to happen, but hey, at least for this turn I can tank. A character like that who you can just swap in as a tank for just a single turn, and then afterwards just do something else. But because her connect wasn't too great and sort of reliable on enemies being charmable really nicely, like against enemies that aren't really charmed that easily, this was kind of terrible. And because she wasn't that amazingly tanky outside of her Magia effect, she was sort of a niche character, and this still hasn't changed too much. She's just way better at it now. However, then you look at the Doppel, and oh my god. Oh, there's some juicy stuff here. Why is this juicy? Because all of the effects actually got increased a significant amount on Doppel. This is another character who benefits from doppling over Magia. Love that shit. So, what has changed? The attack down not only has increased from 45 to 55. Yeah, who cares? 5 turns. 5 turns. Hey, that's actually really, really good. 5 turns. Imagine you're fighting a really, really big boss, like a big Uwasa that like hits for millions of damage. Guess what? You're basically meter raining them for 5 turns. That's a 5-turn meter rain against a single enemy. That's pretty fucking good. Instead of it being just 3 turns, because if it's just 3 turns, chances are you're not going to get another Magia out and the enemy is going to have a turn. But with this, you can basically guarantee that you're always going to have this up on the enemy. And if you can guarantee that the enemy is always going to have this up against a big boss, like a singular boss, that's pretty fucking amazing, guys. You can basically just unequip all meter rains on your party if you have this, which is kind of absurd. Maybe keep 1 meter rain until you have this Doppel actually running. But apart from this, you can basically unequip all meter rains from your party. Just keep 1 meter rain until the enemy gets Doppeled. And if it's just a singular boss, that guy is fucked. That guy's actually fucked, and you're just guaranteed to not die. That's already pretty amazing. Next up, damage cut self 3 turns. Okay, that's basically the same. Who cares? Regenerate HP. Okay, that's also pretty much the same. Who cares? Chance to revoke 2 turns. That's a 2 turn. That's my Pog face right there. By the way, people on Twitch get it. You know how right now you get random Pog champs when you type Pog champ in Twitch chats? All of these Pog champ faces are so bad because they're just guy with open mouth like. That's not a good Pog champ. The actual essence of PogJam is a complete difference. It's more like putting your mouth in a different way. It's like, ah. That's a PogJam right there. Not just, ah. It's more like, ah. Anyway, that's aside. That's a PogJam right there because this provoke, lasting 2 turns, is actually pretty fucking huge because we did the maths earlier. 1, we can count to 1 provoke right here. After you fire off this Doppel, or let's put it this way, after you fire off the Magia beforehand, you had 1 turn of provoke, then with this another turn of provoke, and then you had to get another Magia out to keep the provoke up, which could be a bit difficult sometimes, right? In just 2 turns, well, actually just 1 turn, because you had 1 turn use the Magia, and then you had 1 turn where you actually get to choose discs, where you use your provoke, and actually no, it would be the other way around, actually not quite sure, but you wouldn't have that much time to get back to Magia. But guess what, with now using the Doppel, you have an extra turn. You have an extra turn of trying to get to either Magia or Doppel again to keep the provoke going. And that is actually pretty huge. So now you can have, in general, a way longer time on uptime on provoke. Instead of just, I'm going to jump in and tank for 1 turn. Now she can be like, I'm going to jump in and tank for like 5 turns or whatever. You can like Doppel, then provoke afterwards, and you had like 2 turns plus the turn where you Doppeled to get another Doppel or at least a Magia, and you're definitely gonna get another Magia or Doppel in that turn, meaning you can use another provoke for either 1 or 2 turns. So you get like 4 to 5 turns of provoke, and during those turns you have the enemy is completely fucked with attack downs, and you have a lot of the damage cut on yourself, like 70% damage cut with this on yourself with the enemy being attacked down, even if there's multiple enemies, because you yourself have 70% damage cut. That's pretty darn awesome, and you're healing up during that. So even if you're currently low, or if the enemy is actually managing to deal some damage, guess what, you're healing back up during that, with 11% right here, another 5% right here, that's 16% each turn. Damn. So overall, I think she's earned a spot. I think she's earned her spot in a Magia stall team. Now, everything in the chat so far looks pretty good, but keep in mind, this is purely defensive. Offensively, she does basically nothing. Offensively, she's not actually a unit at all. Her damage output, or the damage output she gives other people, might as well be 0. Like, she might as well increase your party's DPS by 0, because her offensive capabilities are absolutely none. However, like attack up, that doesn't count, okay? Everyone has that. So offensively, she does nothing, absolutely nothing. If you have a team that already survives everything, Haruka has no spot on that team. But if you have a team where you're saying like, man, this enemy, like this one magical girl who like doppels me or whatever on this 100 Evils quest, who like throws a Magia at my entire team and I just die, guess what? Just fucking attack down them with the Magia or Doppel, awesome. Or if you are fighting a big boss, or in general, if you're playing 100 Evils and you're like, oh man, my team keeps dying, I have trouble keeping my team alive, take a Haruka in there, provoke the enemy when the enemy is about to deal some damage, use the attack down on strong enemy on strong enemy characters, especially those who are going to Doppel, and just laugh at the enemy as they deal like 0 damage to your Haruka who's provoking them for like 45 turns. So yeah, she's earned her spot. I think she's earned her spot on my team. So yeah, she's in the gacha, by the way. I think she's actually in the shop as well, like the not the event shop, the Mitama coin shop for like 50 coins or whatever. I haven't checked it, but yeah. So I think Haruka is really good for Magia stall teams. Is she good on any other team? Probably not. Probably not. But here's the thing: I know a lot of free-to-play people are playing Magia stall teams, like teams surrounding Kako and Manaka and those sort of characters. On a team like that, she's really awesome. On any other team, maybe she does basically nothing, because most other teams don't care about survival. Like the team that I run has 3 Meteor Rains and like 80% damage cut on every single character every turn, so I don't care about survivability. I'm basically invulnerable. But if you're like specifically playing a free-to-play stall team, Haruka is amazing. Haruka is actually amazing. Definitely look into that. You only need to pick her up once from the gacha, and then you can just buy Destiny bottle slots in the shop. At least I think you can. I'm fairly certain you can pick up Destiny bottle slots with her, or like Magia chip slots for her, so you only need to roll her once and you can get her to 4 slot. Yeah, that's it. Okay, guys, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.